Hello and welcome to Report Desk Africa on News Central Television. It is always a pleasure to have you join us. My name is Bernard Akede. If you are in Nigeria, it is a very wet Thursday evening. Of course, I'm not here alone. I'm joined by Blessings Mosugu, who is almost always with me.
Well, you're almost always with me too. All right. I mean, yes, it is a wet and cold period in Lagos, Nigeria right now. But from here to you, wherever you're watching us from across the African continent, we say welcome to Report Desk Africa. And yes, my name is Blessings Mosugu. This is the show where we take you through the headline stories across the African continent, and we let you see what's trending and how, we dissect it, we turn it into reports and let you see how it happens, when it happens, where it happens, and prefer possible solutions. Let's take you through a quick look at the forecast as of last week and the updates we have been tracking on News Central Television. Now, we told you that a top UN official, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, during his visit to the DRC said that peacekeepers should withdraw from the DRC as quickly as possible, yet responsibly.
Yet responsibly. Now, besides that, we also told you about the elections of Algeria and Sierra Leone as non-permanent members of the United Nations Security Council representing Africa. And finally, of course, we gave you an update on Kenya's plans to convert the Massacre Forest into a memorial site. That very popular forest where, well, by now it's about over 300 bodies that have been discovered in that place. I think it's a good one by the Kenyan government.
Well, it is a good one. Well, that said, today we'll take you to West Africa, where particularly Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu is on a suspension spree, as many would call it, suspending two top government officials over what he termed abuse of office and a barrage of offences relating to their duties in office. And of course, this has sparked a lot of reactions, which we will be discussing very shortly. And then we'll move to discuss the challenges faced by people with albinism, as well as celebrate the achievement of this set of people who have been discriminated against worldwide as we celebrate the World Albinism Day or week. I mean, as Report Desk is concerned, it's not just a day, it's usually weeks or months of celebrations. But anyways, those are the two stories that we will be unpacking for today. So you don't want to miss any of it. Do stay tuned.
Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, this is Report Desk Africa on News Central Television, and we are just about to get going. Now, Nigeria's president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has commenced what is termed a cleansing of the previous officials of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, Tinubu, within 2 weeks of assuming office as president, took a bold decision that has so far affected at least two top government officials, calling the shots during the previous administration. First, it was the suspension of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Nigeria's Apex Bank, talking about Godwin Emefiele, followed by the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, none other than AbdulRasheed Bawa. The president removed these two top officials from office over what he termed abuse of office and a barrage of offences relating to their duties in office, ordering their probe, also directing them to hand over power to senior officials in their agencies. Let's take a look at this report that was packaged by our Abuja Bureau Chief, talking about Amadine Uyi, for deeper insights into the whole suspension saga. Do stay with us.
Video footage of Nigeria's recently suspended governor of the central bank, Godwin Emefiele. Just a few days ago, he was one of Nigeria's most powerful men. However, with a change in government came a change in fortunes. Nigeria's Department of State Services had released a statement confirming that the embattled governor is in their custody for investigative reasons. Citizens on the streets of Abuja reacted to the news.
And just as you have rightly said, if DSS have confirmed that Emefiele is in their custody, we'll be very happy that Nigeria should be given good opportunities to question Emefiele on sensitive issues that Emefiele has caused the country.
As a Nigerian, I think when you are trying to take some drastic steps for a change. I think there's some certain things we need to take action on. I think one of those actions is what we are saying right now, that Emefiele being arrested. I think from my own point of view, I think he has some questions to answer.
Well, if this thing I'm hearing just now, if the truth is good and fine, number one is to arrest. Second thing is to know the cost of whatever that happened that made them to arrest the person. Government should please, or whosoever that is in charge, go ahead and do more verification before they go ahead and punish or whatever they want to do.
I think it's just, to an extent, a witch hunt on him, because it's just like more like a scapegoat, though, because he doesn't have the power to make all those decisions by himself without the federal backing. So whether this is an attack on the previous administration or not, that is not for me to say, actually. But the truth remains the truth remains. I just wish we can get past this phase of either witch hunting or not and just find a way to move forward.
Emefiele's arrest has not come as a surprise to many. Now in the custody of the Department of State Services, Nigerians have taken time to give a review of his tenure as the governor of the nation's central bank. We spoke to some of them on the streets of Abuja, and this is what they have to say.
I think he made some right choices, but at the end, the choices didn't have like a better impact on we, the citizens. Just like when they had to change the Naira, redesign the Naira policy and the rising of the dollar to Naira.
Make no mistake, terrible. The man is terrible. Every policy he has either come up with or he has either supported has been terrible. Just take a past look at from the FX problem to the borrowing problem to printing money. He has been terrible. At least for an institution that should be, independent. He was dependent on the past administration, and that alone is a red flag.
If happens, the country has been having institutions that can work or institutions that provide solution. Emefiele, by now, it's not at this hour that he should have been picked by the DSS. He should have been in prison long time overdue.
Not much has been said by the new government on the nature of investigation the intelligence agency is carrying out on the embattled governor. However, Nigerians will be watching keenly as events play out. Amadin Uyi, reporting for News Central.
Well, that was the report put together carefully by Amadine Oye, our bureau chief, who will be joining us very shortly. Now, some will say that the new president, Tinubu, has been busy for the past 2 weeks. And just don't forget, it's not just the suspension spree now. There's the student loan that has been approved. There's also the electricity bill, a lot of other things that he has put into place, whether good or bad, depending on how people see it. He has been busy. Now, a lot of people will term this suspension propaganda. Some people will say that he's just doing it to take out the former administration and replace them with the new. But regardless, there's still a lot of reactions, a lot of people saying that if he truly is fighting corruption, then certain people should have been behind bars and not just these people. These ones were just scapegoat. In fact, Nigerians will call it stray bullet. Also met the Minister of Aviation, former Minister of Aviation, I beg your pardon, Hadi Sirika, that if Tinubu was fighting corruption for real, he should have also, touched Hadi Sirika a little. But anyways, this is what we're discussing right now. And we have our bureau chief, Amadine Oye, who put that report, who will be joining us very shortly. But let me first ask Bernard what your opinion is about this whole thing.
One of the respondents there said witch hunting. So this is like witch hunting. I would like to quote the former governor of Edo State, my state, who said, if you're not a witch, why should you be scared of witch hunting? which is the truth. So if Emefiele has nothing to hide, if he did nothing wrong, of course, not just Emefiele from the central bank, there's also Bawa, a gentleman I like very well because of his, I think his age. He was quite young for that position he was holding. He was the head of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. But he too has been suspended. If you've done nothing wrong, then you should fear nothing. That's the way I see it. Again, now I'm playing devil's advocate for Emefiele. people have come, like again, one of the respondents who said that he should have not just been picked up now, he should have been in prison long ago.
Before
it doesn't
now.
work like that.
Yeah, but I mean, still talking about whether or not, if you're not scared, you should fear nothing. This is Nigeria. And a lot of times, you know, we hear that people are suspended, people are questioned by the DSS and all because of some long-standing issues or some allegations that they are going to investigate. But we don't hear about the investigations. We don't hear about the allegations. What are the allegations? We don't know. You know, so a lot of, you know, just ambiguity around everything, and before you know, everything just dies down. We don't know if the person was guilty or if the person, but so it's quite really dicey when we look at it, because it's Nigeria. You can't exactly say, okay, the justice system is as effective. So I think that even the innocent should be scared.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you have a point. Even the innocent should be scared. These days, you know, you have people walking down the streets, they see the police and they're scared. When they should be, they should feel secure when they see the police and the security operatives, basically. But then again, let's not forget, as I was going to say back then, that Emefiele was acting under instruction, so to speak, right? He wasn't the president of the country. He was holding an office, and he had, like they say in Nigeria, he had ogas at the top. You know, he had bosses that he was answerable to. He couldn't have taken certain decisions that he took.
Yeah, like someone said.
Yeah, he couldn't have taken them, you know, without clearance from his bosses back in the day. So if he's indicted, there's a possibility that he might indict others as well. You know, if I read somewhere it says, if Emefiele is allowed to speak, then heads will roll. But we're waiting to see. Now, the only sad thing, like you clearly stated, is that in Nigeria, and history has shown us several times, that sometimes we don't eventually get to hear what some of these charges or allegations are. We don't get to hear if and when these cases are eventually sorted or settled. Remember again that these two top government officials, or former government, well, still government officials, because they were just suspended, not dismissed, right? Which means that their positions are still valid until proven guilty. Until we do hear that they have been dismissed, then we can take it off from there. But it's very interesting time for journalists at the moment, because, of course, the next question you'll be asking is, who is next? You know, on this suspension spree that the new president has started with, because there's so many sectors in the country that need cleansing, if this is cleansing, from power to education to healthcare, to security or insecurity, as the case may be, you know, and so forth and so on. We've seen finance, we've seen the DSS, you know. Then again, like you clearly stated, some are thinking maybe the new president is just getting back at those who gave him a tough time.
Yeah, and you know, I think that would lead some people to say that maybe these people he's suspending are not the actual targets. Like you said, if they are allowed to speak, heads will roll. So maybe he has his targets, but whichever way, as long as he's doing it for the betterment of the country and the people, because a lot of times we're worried whether or not this thing is for the good of the people or for the good of his administration or his government. But another interesting thing that I've seen him do this past few weeks is the student loan bill that he signed. We have heard about the student loan, and what we expected to see wasn't what, I mean, yes, the student loan bill was signed, but then when you look at the criteria, what's in prison sentence? What's going on?
Well, I think
how did it go from borrowing money to spending nights in prison?
So I've seen a lot concerning the student loan bill, and I think Nigerians should adequately digest the bill and the content of the bill. Again, this is where I, with the power of the microphone vested upon me, call on the National Orientation Agency to clarify many new things that would most likely be coming up around this period, this new era that we are in. Look, giving loans to students is a good thing, right? As long as, you know, there are no strings, no unnecessary strings attached. There hardly is any place where you receive loans except in Islamic banking, like they say, where, you know, you don't pay interest on certain loans and all of that. But here, we've come to see that the education sector has asked that students be given certain loans. But then, mind you, the association of ASU, right, that's the lecturers' union, are not exactly in support of these student loans. You know, so which is why I suggest that most Nigerians who are interested in this should go back and read what this student loan entails. There's a part of the, okay, I don't want to let anything out of the bag, because even I don't think I have completely grasped everything about the loan.
I mean,
yet.
before we
But I see
keep
that
the
you're
cat
interested.
in the
You're interested in the prison sentence.
I am, because I mean, before we keep aside the prison sentence, right? Because it was just I was reading through it, and maybe because I haven't, like you said, fully digested it. But before we keep the cat inside the bag, let me just show the head a little, right? There's a part of it that I saw that you are only eligible for the student loan if your family or yourself earns not less than
not more than 500,000.
Not more than 500,000 naira
annually. So I heard. Yeah.
Please, maybe my English. I don't know. Is it per year?
So yes,
so that's 41K in a month.
Yes, I think it was drawn up based on the current minimum wage standard in Nigeria, right? But then again, there are questions to be asked. So like you said, that's about 41,000 naira per month, right? So it means that
full time is 30K, by the way.
Exactly. Well, that also depends on the car you're driving. So if I earn, say, 50,000 naira per month, which with the current state of, like you said, petrol, in the current price of petrol in Nigeria, knowing that Nigeria is a country that literally and figuratively runs on petrol, the current price of petrol, with current inflation rates and the recent challenges that the country is going through, 50,000 naira can hardly do anything. But then my children do not qualify for the student loan. So if the idea was to make children of the poor, in quote, accessible or eligible to get these loans, people who earn more than that 41,000 naira probably should be categorized under that same group. But then again, they are not eligible, or their children rather are not eligible to access such loans. So again, I'm saying that there has to be a lot more clauses attached to this student loan bill that has been signed by the president. And this is where I say again that either the spokespersons of the president or the National Orientation Agency should come out and speak up about some of the new policies that the president will be embarking on, or the policies that he will be revamping from the past. There's going to be a lot of changes, whether we like it or not, because it's a new dispensation. And let's remember that the former president who ruled Nigeria was a military man, so he knew the uniform. He came from the uniform into Mufti and began to rule. But the person we have now is a seasoned politician and a businessman. So we're going to be seeing, from my point of view, a lot of deals being brokered between Nigeria and other foreign investors, foreign countries. We're going to be seeing a lot of financial changes, right? A lot of things that would involve inflow and outflow of money. I do expect that we'll see that. I mean, he's also talked about electricity, which is one sector that clearly needed revamping. And he's also looking at states generating their own power. I mean, in the past few years, during the last era, we saw year in, year out, the collapse of the grid, of the national grid. Bear in mind that we have just one national grid. But now if we have different states generating their own power, not just generating, generating and distributing their own power, then things may just change in Nigeria.
I think, again, right, the intentions are sort of clear.
And they seem good, actually.
Yeah, they are good. But I think what I would say is we're still at the bedrock level. I would say that we should avoid certain mistakes that we made in the past. And when I say mistakes, I mean this uncertainty and lack of clarity of constitutional laws and all. I still remember that there was a time when it became an issue of debate as to, 25% of votes in the FCT. Is the FCT part of the 36 states? Is it not? So if constitutions are being reformed, if laws are being reenacted, then they should be as clear as the day. Because we don't want to have a situation where 7 years down the line, you're saying that, they didn't say this category of people are eligible. No, this ones are eligible. No, under certain circumstances, this ones are eligible. It should be very clear.
It should be very clear.
Right? This is another opportunity to get things right. If you're reforming the Constitution, let it be plainly written that this is what it is, that this is the clause and everything. And I think that will set us off to a good start.
Definitely. Again, this is where I call on the agencies that are supposed to inform and give orientation to the people to actually come out and do their job, so that there will be no second guessing, so that people will not be confused, people will not be caught up, in the lacunas of the law, basically, So it's clear that, like I said earlier, that there's going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of new laws, like I think there will be. Some may come out for good, some may not look good initially, but maybe eventually, and some, everybody will not be, will not benefit equally from all the new changes that are to come. But regardless of whether you are going to be on the positive side or the negative side of change that is coming or that has come or that will come, there has to be clarity. Either clarity from the onset of making these changes or clarity after the changes have been made, where agencies come out and make Nigerians understand that these are the changes. Let's not forget also that these changes would equally affect neighboring countries.
Yeah.
Right? Policies concerning petrol. Already I've heard that neighboring countries like Benin Republic are already feeling the pinch of the petrol subsidy that has been removed.
Right.
Although now we hear that we have our bureau chief, Amadine Uyi, who is joining us now from Abuja, and we're going to quickly, with whatever time we have left, talk about this suspension spree that the new president has embarked on. Amadine, good evening. Can you hear us?
Good evening, Bernard. I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Amadine. Now, we have talked extensively about the suspension spree and generally the changes that the new president is trying to bring about. But first of all, we've seen the president suspend 2 top government officials within 2 weeks of assuming office. Is this truly a cleansing of a system, like some will say, or is it just a removal of the top officials by the previous or from the previous administration just to replace them with the new president's choice?
Listen, from my own perspective, I think I would like to call it a cleansing of the system, because there have been over 200 or over 500 appointees made by the former president. Not everybody was removed. It was only those who have had questions to answer. There have been controversies around their tenure or their reign in office. Let's start with Emefiele. You just played the package where we went to sample opinion from people on the street. And you heard what a lot of them had to say. They said they wanted Emefiele to give answers. In fact, out of everybody interviewed, it was only one person that thought it was a witch hunt, because the person felt that Emefiele was employed by somebody. So if whatever Emefiele did during his tenure as the CBN governor, that the person did not complain, then Emefiele was not the right person to have been removed or have been arrested. But others were of the opinion that Emefiele had questions to answer in regards to several policies that, can you hear me, Bernard?
Please go ahead.
Okay, in regards to several policies that Emefiele had pushed during his tenure. Let's first start with the cost of the price of dollar to naira. He came on board when it was about between $180 to $250, 250 naira to $1. As of today, at the black market, we are talking about over 700. Then let's talk about the naira redesign policy, which caused a lot of hardship. At a point in time, Nigerians went on the street, began attacking banks, believing that it was these banks that were holding the naira. But so look at Emefiele's tenure. Indeed, Emefiele has questions to answer. I am not saying Emefiele is wrong, but if Nigerians, who they say the voice of the people sometimes is the pulse of the nation or is the conscience of the nation, if the people say they want Emefiele to answer questions, and then the new president says, Emefiele, you are suspended, we want to investigate you, it will be very, very hard to align yourself on the path to say Emefiele is also being witch hunted. Then let's talk about the other appointee that has been suspended. I covered the economic and financial crimes for several years. And everybody will agree that the EFCC, yes, in terms of conviction, the EFCC has done reasonably well. But Nigerians believe that the EFCC can do much better. Some blame whatever is happening in the EFCC to the chairman. Remember that when the last chairman was removed, these same issues dominated the airwaves. And then just a few weeks ago, a governor who is being investigated, who the EFCC is investigating, a former governor rather, came out to say that the EFCC chairman himself solicited for bribe, and it was because he refused to give him that bribe That is why he's been hounded by the anti-graft agency. Any sane leader would want to investigate these allegations. But the issue is, can you investigate these allegations while the person in question is still sitting down and has access, has control over his employees, has access to these files?
Amadine, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so again, like some of the respondents you spoke to, right? These government officials, again, were working under certain persons. Remember that we had a former president, I can't believe I've forgotten his name so soon. Muhammadu Buhari was our former president, and these two government officials were working with the blessings of the former president. So if they are going to be indicted, if they are taken out for questioning, where's their boss in all of this?
Now, remember that nobody has said that they are guilty.
Exactly. That's why I said they're taken for questioning, right? They've been suspended. It's not even said that they've been dismissed. They've been suspended. So somehow, in answering these questions, you would expect that they would state that they were acting under instruction. At least if I'm not making any mistake, that would come up in certain places. Because the Naira redesign policy, and then the activities of the EFCC, these things could have not been done, by rogue movement. These top officials would have not done it on their own, of their own accord, without the go-ahead of their boss. As at then, anyway.
Now, Bernard, remember that it is up to them now to tell Nigerians that this policy which I have brought out, it was order from above. It was not my idea. I was only following orders. Now, but we have not heard that. So let's give the investigation some benefit of doubt. Let's even give these people that have been suspended or arrested, let's give them some benefit of doubt. Because from my understanding of an investigation is that when you are being investigated, it does not mean that you are guilty. You are only being investigated based on certain allegations. And then when the investigation comes out and they say you are guilty, then you can now tell Nigerians that yes, this policy was being carried out by me, but it was orders from above. But then remember also that let's look at the Naira redesign policy. At the point when the CBN announced that policy, remember that even the then Minister of Finance came out to say, I am a member of the Executive Council. I am not aware of this policy. Remember that. So it tells you that during the time of the former president, a lot of these employees had some level of autonomy because maybe the president trusted in their judgment, or maybe they were able to convince the president. Because if you have a CBN governor who is not working with his Minister of Finance, comes up with this kind of policy, announces this policy, and then the Minister of Finance, who is meant to manage the economy, says, I was not informed that this was going to happen. So there are so many things that will be unraveled in the next few days.
Okay.
We have to be careful not to put the cart before the horse.
All right, Amadine, unfortunately, we have to let you go. Before I let you go, I want to quickly ask this. Let me bring you back home now. Do you think that this new, suspension spree will hit our own industry, broadcasting? Do you think we'll see any changes in the media industry?
For now, I want to, today, a list of special advisors were announced.
Okay.
And I think the special advisor on communications strategy, and there's who it is believed that has the ears of the president, is someone who has practiced in the media for a long time. He's not a greenhorn.
Okay.
He has been there from the pro-democracy struggle. He has headed several national editorial, national dailies, and he has been involved to a lot of extent with broadcast. So I don't want to just rule him out yet and say this will happen. When he begins to make statements, policy statements, and where the direction he thinks the Nigerian media, the government should direct the Nigerian media, it is then we can now say we expect changes.
All right.
He has been announced today. In the next few days, the jury will be out on him, because by then he has the ears of the president. We are now going to see whether we are going to go through another time where Twitter or Instagram or whatever is going to be banned, or where stations will be fined arbitrarily. Let's just watch and see. But
all right,
that time has a way of defining every man's action.
Okay, Amadine, thank you so much. Because of our time, we'll not be able to stretch this further, but thank you so much for giving us your opinion, especially on the event as it has been unfolding. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank you, Blessing. Thank you, Bernard.
Thank you,
It's a
Amadine.
pleasure.